I love Superman. He's probably my biggest inspiration in life. I strive to be like him every single day, and I try to be as good as I can be every day. Not for myself, but for others. I try to do those little things here and there that'll hopefully make someone's day just a little brighter. Admittedly though, most of the time I fail, but that's okay. You see, despite Clark Kent being entirely alien, I'm as human as Superman. Sure, he's faster than a speeding bullet, but what makes the character of Superman so unique is how he's wholly relatable in spite of that. And after a decade of waiting, wishing, hoping for the big blue Boy Scout to return, he finally has. My Adventures with Superman is everything that it should be and everything that James Gunn should be faithful to in Superman Legacy. What's more, and in the best way possible, it's the exact opposite of everything that Zack Snyder built for the character. Allow me to explain.
Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth.
Ever since the release of Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, the public perception of Superman has never really been the same. Now, I got nothing against the guy personally. For all intents and purposes, he seems like a nice dude. All that being said, it's like he purposefully went out of his way to make a film encompassing exactly what not to do with this character. From a visual perspective, it's muted and foreboding. From a narrative angle, it's written in a way that actively seeks to criticize, nay, antagonize Superman's motivations as a hero. And in its translation from comic book to feature film, it fails to properly characterize its most important players. In short, Man of Steel is simply put, pessimistic. 10 years later though, and My Adventures with Superman has seemingly gone the exact opposite route. With open arms, it welcomes you back to what made the original superhero stand the test of time. On all fronts, it has its identity established. From a visual perspective, it's colorful and beaming with anime energy. From a narrative angle, it's written in a way that embraces the Superman ethos. And in its translation from page to television, it succeeds in modernizing nearly century-old favorites. Once more, in short, My Adventures with Superman is simply put, optimistic. Speaking directly about the events of the show, after 3 episodes, it's clear that this is an origin story. And before you freak out, no, that doesn't mean we have to sit through Krypton exploding again. This is a type of origin story that we've never really gotten before. Here we see Superman and his regular cast of characters go through their earliest endeavors in Metropolis. Starting with Lois Lane, she's quite possibly my favorite element of My Adventures with Superman. Unlike your stereotypical damsel in distress, what's always made Lois a great character is her determination. Regardless of her own personal safety, she takes to the page to both alert and inspire, informing the citizens of Metropolis of active dangers while simultaneously giving them hope through it all. This is something that's not lost in My Adventures with Superman. As the leader of this ragtag trio of Daily Planet interns, she's ready at a moment's notice to throw herself into danger for the sake of a story. In fact, she does so several times. But like I said, this is an origin story, so she's still testing her limits, learning at the end of one episode that she shouldn't also endanger the lives of less willing participants. And it's moments like these that show that there's a great foundation here for her character to grow on, and I honestly did not expect that going into this series. Now, in talking about the big guy himself, this is a Superman we've never gotten before. By that, I mean he doesn't know what Krypton is, he doesn't know who Jor-El is, he doesn't know how to be a superhero, and he's slowly unlocking his full arsenal of powers over time. And in the same vein, this is a Clark Kent we haven't really gotten before, in that he's learning how to be a journalist at the same time as Lois. Typically, in say the animated series for example, Clark is kind of the new guy on the block who gets taught by the more experienced Lois Lane. But these are the kind of changes that I really appreciate, in that the typical Superman story is optimized for the context of a series. With this, we'll get a steady stream of progression throughout the season, wherein by the end, we'll see a more experienced journalist and a more experienced superhero, both of which are imbued with a natural sense of insecurity as Clark begins his first days as both an intern and a superhero. But the strongest part of the series, and the element the writers clearly were most excited to touch on, is the romance between Clark Kent, Superman, and Lois Lane. Their flirting actually feels like flirting, and there's a genuine chemistry felt. It's your typical sitcom cartoon will they won't they, but the dialogue is written really well, and the art style lends itself to a more romantic tone. My only complaint is that I wish Jimmy Olsen had a little bit more to do. Traditionally he's Superman's best pal, right? Well, he is in My Adventures with Superman, however he feels much more like a secondary character when you compare him to Clark and Lois. which is kind of a shame when you consider that this is a relatively smaller scale Superman story, so you'd think we'd have more time to really get to play around with Jimmy's character. And I'm also a bit put off by some of the choices they made with the villains. For example, Livewire is usually blue, and in this she's not blue and also has no personality. And similar things can be said for Mist, Roughhouse, and Silver Banshee. In the end though, I guess it doesn't really matter because these are C and D tier level DC characters that no one really gives a shit about. I just think they could have used more time in the writer's room is all. But take these concerns with a grain of salt, because like I said earlier, there's only been 3 episodes released up to this point. All of which could change, you never know. The best way I can describe my adventures with Superman is Superman going back to basics with a DH twist. Which kinda sounds like the plan James Gunn is cooking up, right? And to be perfectly honest, there's so much that James Gunn could and should borrow from this series, especially if it's a younger Superman story. But this is what I mean, man. This is what the public has been missing over the last decade. Legacy characters that behave in the ways that they actually would. A Superman that leaves you feeling happy. A story that embodies truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. But anyways, this was just a quick video I thought I'd do because I've been aching to talk about this show with someone. Which leads me to, what do y'all think about my adventures with Superman so far? Let me know in the comments. Also, while you're down there, go on ahead and subscribe, donk the bell, and click the like button if you feel the video earned it. And if you really feel like the video earned it, head on over to my Patreon, where for just $5 a month you can get exclusive content like the Brinkus Bulletin podcast. Whether here on YouTube or over on Patreon, I never want it to go unsaid that I appreciate the support. But most importantly, remember to love yourselves, folks. And as always, take care.